Okay, we're going to start covering HQ or headquarters units now, which represent 3 to 10 man formations that are the leaders of your different formations. You're never going to find an HQ unit operating on its own. It's always going to be stacked with another unit in its hex at least. Now, a HQ unit also does not count against your stacking limit, which is 2. So you can have up to 2 units in a hex and an HQ unit on top of that, but not more than 1 HQ unit can be in a hex at any one point. Now, looking at the factors around an HQ unit very quickly, at the bottom center, you're going to find its movement factor, just like you'll find the movement factor for all the other units. At its top right, you're going to find its morale factor. At its top left, you're going to find its leadership factor, and this is what's going to be used to affect your different modifiers. So if you're making an AP or HE attack, for example, this is the number you're going to look at to determine what type of bonus is applied there. At the bottom left, you're going to find HQ's command range, and this is how far out it can command the units in its formation. So as a quick example, this headquarters unit located here, this Russian one, has a command radius of 4, so it could command units in its formation up to 4 hexes away. Units outside of that command range can still operate, but they're going to have to take a command status check, which we'll cover later. There's also another type of HQ called an SHQ, or your sub-headquarters unit. And you can think of this as kind of like your executive officer. Not the head guy, but the guy under the head guy. And a SHQ operates very similar to how a HQ is going to operate, but they allow you to effectively kind of extend your command range, because units who are outside of their HQ's command range but are within the SHQ's command range will still be considered in command as long as the SHQ is in command. Now, that sounds a little complicated, but the example I've got laid out here, this Tiger Commander HQ has a command radius of 7, which this Tiger is outside of, but the SHQ is in command. Also, the SHQ can be in command up to double its HQ's command, so it would actually be in command at a range of 14. But for our example here, the SHQ is in command, and it has a command radius of 4, which this Tiger is in range of, which means the Tiger, even being outside of its head HQ's command range, is still in command because it's in command with the SHQ. Now, headquarters units are not going to be directly involved in combat. Again, they're going to be applying their leadership modifier to combat in a multitude of different ways. So they can't be directly targeted. So our SU-152s here could not target directly this Tiger HQ. What the Tiger HQ can do is, you see it has a leadership value of 2, and it could apply that to the Tiger that it's with, increasing its AP firepower when it would conduct an attack against the enemy Russian armor. So this Tiger that would normally throw 3 dice when conducting attack could add the 2 from the HQ and throw 5 instead. That doesn't mean that HQs can't be affected by enemy fire. They absolutely can. If a unit is disrupted or reduced in the hex that the HQ is in, so this HQ, again, the Tiger Leader HQ, if this Tiger were to be shot at and reduced and or disrupted, the HQ would have to conduct a check at that point. It would roll a d6. On a roll of a 2 to 6, there would be no effect, but on a roll of a 1, the HQ would be reduced at that point to its reduced side. If the HQ was already reduced when you made that check, then the HQ would be eliminated. If there were 2 Tigers here, and one of the Tigers were to be just eliminated by enemy fire flat out, then you would conduct the same check for the HQ, but this time you would add a -2 modifier to that check. If you ever have a situation where all of the units are wiped out completely, then the HQ is going to be just flat eliminated. Now, a replacement HQ can be placed on the board reduced side up during a subsequent marker removal phase, but it can only be placed in any hex that contains a friendly unit of that HQ's type and from its formation. So what I mean by that is, again, taking our Tiger HQ here, if this one had been eliminated, it could be placed back on in that later phase on these Tigers that are stacked here. But let's say, for example, that this Russian HQ had been eliminated and these infantry were gone, and all that were left were the attached Su-152s. This Russian HQ could not then be placed back on its reduced side because there are no units of its type to be placed on at that point. Now, that's nowhere near everything about HQs, but again, like I said, we're going to be covering so many more different aspects of HQs throughout the series, so pay attention for that in the later videos.